Right, very warm welcome to Monday night meditation. So this is a chance for Brixton Buddhist community to get together, people old and new, people who've just started coming along, people that have been around, come along to the community, part of the community for a long time. We just kind of support each other with our practice and meditation. And we've got different people coming up front to kind of facilitate the evenings. And I'm delighted that Tasha's joining us tonight. So we'll be running through the evening, me and Tasha together. My name's Mike Chinara. If you don't know me, I'm an order member with the Triratna Buddhist Order and a teacher here at Brixton. And also present are Daisy May. So we invite some friends down. You can't see she's waving, you can't see that. And there's Pam over there, and Jack's here doing the tent. So that's everyone who's here down in Ephra Space, which is in Brixton. So you can also let us know if you're out there. Let us know who you are, where you are, and I can say hello. So that'd be good. And what we're doing, you can do that on the chat function. So what we've been doing over the last few weeks is we've been starting a series, we've been running a series called Meditations on Reality, or these 3 marks of existence, quite a kind of provocative, interesting sounding title. So these 3 marks or characteristics of existence. And we've been basically looking at one of these 3 marks each 2 weeks. So I've been encouraging people to come along to the whole series. You're going to get really build up a feel for, well, what's the point of exploring our lives and our worlds in this way? And you can build up a bit of a feeling for these marks of existence in your life. They're recognisable in your experience, yeah? But each evening also stands alone as well. So you can check back over the past evenings if you want to. That's all on the YouTube channel. So the first 2 sessions were on permanence, but that's gone. That's gone. That's gone. So now we're into unsatisfactoriness. I'm here all week, folks. We're into unsatisfactoriness, which is the second master of resistance, which sounds a little bit less, sounds in a certain way more daunting, almost slightly kind of morbid, but we're really going to look into, well, how does that recognition of dukkha, or this sense of dissatisfaction, how does that actually light our lives up by actually seeing that? How can we use that kind of view on our lives to actually light our lives up? Yeah? So we'll be exploring that for the second week running tonight. So I'm going to hand over to Tasha. Tasha's going to bring us up to the present moment, get us to settle into ourselves.
Okay, thanks. So, hello, I'm Tasha, and I'm a Mitra with the Triratna Buddhist Order. I've actually just started training for ordination to join the order, like Mike Chinara here. And this is my first time co-leading on a Monday, so I'm feeling quite excitable. So I'm going to lead a short body scan, which will be good for me to settle in and for all of us to settle in, to help us arrive into our bodies and to be in the present moment. And until I started meditating, I didn't actually realise how alienated I was from my own body. And it's been a real revelation for me coming into my body. So being in our bodies, like noticing how we are and what's going on for us is really foundational, I think, for mindfulness, for our meditation practice, but also for our relationships and our self-awareness and everything we do in the world. So this little body scan, it's really good to do something like this at the start of your meditation practice, or any time that you just want to have a mindful moment and be a bit more present with yourself. So, I'd like to invite you to find a comfortable seat, cushion or a chair, or lying on the floor if that's more comfortable. And just settle yourself in. And close your eyes and drop your awareness down into your sit bones, into your contact with the floor. just start to notice your breath and see if on the out breath you can just relax a little bit more deeply into your posture. Try to get a sense of whatever it is you're sitting on, your contact with the floor, of the ground being there to support you. So just try and feel yourself resting into the ground. And then start to bring some awareness to your body, starting with the soles of your feet. But try and make it a kindly awareness. So we're not trying to force ourselves into the right meditation posture. We're going to be just scanning through our body. And when we find some tension, just see if we can notice it and acknowledge it and release it and let it go, but in a kindly way. So we're not forcing the tension away. And just start by noticing the sensations in your feet. The soles of your feet and your ankles. Just start to slowly work your way up your legs. And when you find tension, just see if you can bring that kindly awareness to it and soften. Bring the attention up through your knees, up your thighs and into your pelvis. Feel yourself resting on whatever is supporting you. Coming up into your belly, quite often where we hold a lot of tension. And then up through your trunk. See if you can start to feel the aliveness in your hands and work your way up. Seeing what you can feel there through your arms. Up into your shoulders. Relaxing, letting the tension go with your out breaths. And up through the neck, your jaw, the muscles in your face. See if you can really soften. And all the way up to the top of your head. Just take a moment to sit in the full awareness of your whole body. And drop the attention down to your heart space. See if you can notice any feeling there. Just bringing your attention in a kindly way to whatever is there. And come back and open your eyes in your own time.
Okay, thank you, Tasha. Yes, let's see who's tuning in. Hi, Alison. Alison's here. And Ian, Tom, Joe. Joe says it's lovely to see Tasha up front, and you get 3 red hearts.
Oh, that's nice.
From Joe. Harriet. Hi, Harriet. Cam's here. Hi, Cam. He says hello, lovely people. And Tara and Tatiana. And Alison says that was lovely, Tasha. So yeah, do keep putting your names in if you haven't done so. That'd be great. I can say hello a bit later on. So yeah, I was saying that well, Amara Pushpa, if you tuned in last week, Amara Pushpa was talking or introducing this theme of Dukkha, or dissatisfaction, as the second of these marks of existence. And she was saying that on the basis of the first mark, this sense that everything is impermanent, everything is in flux, nothing is kind of constant. There's a sense of inconstancy about everything, including our awareness. Your mind will be flitting back in and out of what's going on here in the session. Sense impressions will be changing. We kind of know that. We kind of know that everything is in a momentum, in flux, but we don't tend to kind of operate in the world in that sense. Yeah? We tend to kind of fix ourselves and other people. I do it, you do it, we fix ourselves in here, I'm in here, and there's a world out there including other people. And Buddha said that this kind of common sense, this is the kind of, given that we have this sense apparatus housing this body, that's kind of this perceptual situation, that's what it feels like, and that's actually has very distinct utilitarian advantages. You can interact with other people, you can make things happen, you can do things. It has this kind of predictive quality as a knowable me, as a knowable world. But he said if that's taken too far and it's taken too literally in the way that we do that, it's the cause of our unhappiness. It's a really bold statement. It's a really bold statement. The cause of our unhappiness is not that we haven't got this or that, or that we haven't got developed this kind of character or that kind of character. It's that we don't. It's that we operate out of erroneous sense of fixity, me in here separate from a kind of knowable world out there. It's a bold statement. And he's asked us to explore that for ourselves and to investigate that for ourselves. And at the level of meditation, it's the best, one of the best ways we can explore that in all sorts of ways. But meditation is a good way to do it. So it follows, doesn't it, that if you've got a sense of me and you've got a sense of you, you're going to have likes and you're going to have dislikes. It's very interesting. When my daughter was growing up, in about kind of age of 8 or 7 or 8, I would always hear her and her friends talking about what they like and what they don't like, what they hate and what they love. Yeah, they're kind of trying to work out who they are based on their likes and dislikes. Yeah. So we'll do that. We have those, and that becomes more and more subtle in a way, more and more nuanced. But we're constantly working off. I'm enjoying that. I want that to happen. That's suiting me. Or no, I don't want that to happen. That's not suiting me. So that's kind of going on at a micro level all the time, and sometimes, as we know, quite a macro level, where we're really sure that we don't want something, or we're really sure that we do. So there's this attendant kind of push and pull in our experience, yeah, and that creates a tension. That creates a tension in our minds and in our experience. And the Buddha equated that to, we need a word for it, dukkha, this Sanskrit word, dukkha, was it Pali word? Need to spell that quickly. And what dukkha equates to is this sense of unsatisfactoriness. Yeah, it's either really, really quite present or quite background. Yeah, but this sense of he equated to an ill-fitting wheel on a car. The Buddha was around 2,500 years ago, and he was getting us to imagine a car with a slightly poorly fitted wheel. So the journey is always a little bit clunky, a little bit, we're never quite settled, yeah? So, and he got us to explore this dukkha, this unsatisfactoriness at different levels, or we can look into it in different ways. So we've got a body, so I'm dependent on having a body. There's aches and pains, isn't there? We stub our toe, we get ill, we experience problems with the body, and also with our minds, with our kind of mental habits. We fall into little mini depressions, or maybe bigger depressions, or joys. There's a kind of movement there, but often we can feel the pain of having a mind and a body. Yeah, mind and a body. And then there's the pain of not getting what we want, or getting what we don't want. That's often happening in quite subtle ways, even just the tone of someone's voice. You know, maybe even notice on the tube, just the way someone's dressed, or the way they're acting, or maybe they've got their mask on but not over their nose. Like there's lots of little ways that we notice that we're not getting quite what we want, or we're getting what we don't want. Then there's this sense of things don't last. Even if we do, it's a really good day, we're having a really good day, things are all kind of lining up, it's all kind of going our way. Even then, there's a nagging sense if you can, if you're aware, if you can be aware of it, that it's not going to last. We kind of know it's not going to last, and we get a little tight around it, knowing that things are going to change. And then at the deepest level of this tension, it's just like, you can experience this in meditation, it's just a kind of bracing. There's a slight bracing against life. You can sometimes just pick up on this, just a sense of like, it's just not quite working. You can't hang it on anything in particular, but it's just not quite working, it doesn't feel quite right. So when I first started hearing about Dukkha, I started coming along to a Buddhist centre like you guys do, or like you guys have, and I found it a real relief to hear about this idea of Dukkha, because I've just had, I'd had this sense all my life, and yet I just thought that I thought I was doing life badly. I just didn't think I was doing it properly. I needed to kind of like do it a bit more like this or a bit more like that. So I constantly, or other people weren't doing life properly. So I was either blaming myself or other people for this kind of this dissatisfaction. So it's good to notice when this sense of dissatisfaction is alleviated or attenuated to some degree. We can notice that in all sorts of ways. but particularly in good communication. You know, when you're in good communication and things are really flowing, maybe you're with a good friend, and you just find yourself kind of slightly leaning into them, and you start to lose this sense of where you begin and where they end, where the experience is very fluid. And in that moment, your sense of yourself becomes very light, easeful in a way. Yeah, you can kind of find some ease in your situation. Another time where that might happen is if you're immersed in a film, a good film that you're really into, or a theatre piece, and you've just suspended your disbelief, just for a bit. You're not kind of like, oh, entertainment. You've kind of just let yourself into what's happening, and again your self-sense starts to loosen. You become less aware of yourself in here. Yeah, you kind of lose that quality. Other times that might happen are in moments of generosity and giving, either being given to or giving, or also in like just a little kind word, like the Buddhist, well, it's not a Buddhist preserve, but we do rate this idea of rejoicing in one another. Often at birthdays, you know, Buddhist birthday, you get rejoicing. It's really beautiful, actually, you know, just elucidating the good qualities of somebody. It's a lovely thing to do. Anyway, this sense of myself, it loosens up. And in these times, the world becomes more, it becomes more kind of wondrous, more, more kind of mysterious and unknowable. But you're not worried about the facts that things are in flux. It's not worrying you in those moments, yeah? And strangely, you don't disappear. You definitely don't disappear. In fact, you feel more yourself. Conversely, you feel more yourself, more present, more available. Of course, the other end of the spectrum, so to speak, is when we are contracted in, when we're embarrassed or we've said something harsh, we're angry. Our sense of self is very contracted, very impacted in a way, tight. And those extremes, or that spectrum, and often we're somewhere in the middle, can be felt in the body. As Tasha was saying, you know, the body really kind of mirrors everything that's happening in your experience. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about meditation and how we can see this dukkha, or the alleviation of dukkha, up kind of closer in our experience when we're meditating. So we're going to do two methods to do this. The first one, and Pushpa started talking about last week already. So what we're going to kind of notice, we're just going to notice our body in a way that Tasha was bringing us into our body, and we're just going to notice the tension, any tension that we feel present in the body. And you may notice, or you may or may not notice, you may possibly notice that tension's been generated because you're kind of pushing for something to happen, or you're not wanting something else to happen. Or it may be that the very tension itself is something that you're resisting and don't want. Yes, you can start to just, with this lens, with this kind of reverberating in your kind of mind, so to speak, with what I've been talking about, we can attend to the tension in our body and see if we can notice any subtle pushing or pulling. But attending to the tension is the main thing. We can breathe into it, we can relax into it, we can soften into it. We can, in a way, let our system calm down. There's something about this bracing against the world, us against the world, this slight bracing against the world, which puts our nervous system on a state of high alert, isn't it? You notice this at work when you're under stress. You feel wired, right? And then you just add a cappuccino or whatever on top of that, and then your system is like fully on. And we need to, in meditation, in order to experience ourselves more integrally, more fully, we need to just let our nervous system calm down, just let it settle down, yeah, and we can attend to it, we can allow that to happen by attending to the tension in kind of interwoven in our experience. See if we start to experience ourselves, see if we start to experience the world, maybe even start to loosen up that differentiation. We won't disappear, trust me, you won't disappear if you start to loosen up to sounds, feelings, sensations, just as a kind of conglomerate of things that are happening, but interwoven into that, this tension. Just see if we can just let that calm down. So I'm going to be guiding us into that. But with any technique, and it is just a technique, there's a kind of front end and a back end. The front end of that is really allowing ourselves to settle. But it can be like tension can become a problem then. We can start making tension a problem. Oh no, I've got tension, that must mean I'm doing self, what much I say. You know, it could start to become a problem. So the second method kind of takes kind of care of that, and it's a welcoming. What we do in the second method is we don't try and soften into the tension, we just allow it to be there. It's a kind of allowing, a welcoming. Anything that's in our experience, whether that's tension or whether that's ease, you're just kind of welcoming it in, neither rejecting it or accepting it, just letting it be there and seeing what happens. And I'm going to read a really nice poem, a dervish poem from Turkey by Rumi, called The Guest House. I'm going to be reading that at the start of the Pamphlet's going to like that one. I'm going to be reading that at the start of the meditation and then towards the end as well. And you don't need to think too much about it, just let it kind of wash over you, and then we'll go into a guided meditation. The structure of the meditation, just so briefly before we settle ourselves, will be the classic 4 stages of the mindfulness of breathing, but bringing in this reflection on tension letting go and also on welcoming. Yeah? So you don't need to remember anything I said. We'll be doing those first couple of stages just with the counting, just to get ourselves to become more absorbed in what's happening. And then we'll drop the counting in the 3rd stage so we can follow the whole breath cycle. And then in the 4th stage we'll refine that slightly more. Okay. So it's this kind of refinement to start with the count, just to really give us a bit of an anchor into the practice. Yeah? So let's get ourselves settled in. Just however whatever is going to be comfortable. So yeah, whatever's going to be comfortable, just settling yourselves in. Making sure you just feel yourself relaxed, at ease. Don't need to do anything, just be relaxed and at ease. And yeah, just energised as well and upright. And we're just feeling our body, taking in the whole of the body, how it takes up or feels like it takes up a certain space. And also we feel how it has this mass. We can feel that weight dropping into the ground. So you can feel those points of contact with your body in the ground. Just allowing your weight to really drop fully into the ground. And just noticing any tension in the legs, any holding in the thighs and the hips. See if you can just allow that to soften so the weight of your legs drops more fully down into the ground. And you can feel your weight dropping through the sitting bones, into the cushion, into the chair. You can feel your tummy. Just taking a couple of deeper breaths down into the tummy, just seeing if you can start to soften and let go any holding in the tummy. And our body's rising up from this base. Feel the upper back, the shoulders. And just allowing the shoulders to soften. Feeling your face, eyes, forehead. Notice if your eyes are straining slightly, just see if you can allow them to soften behind the eyelids. So your face is resting. And then we can notice our body's breathing. It's moving with the breath. You can feel the whole rib cage expanding in each direction with the in-breath. Just tuning into the sensations of the breath in the body. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows, you violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honourably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Mindfulness of breathing, and in the first stage, just marking the out-breath at the end of the out-breath with a count. And taking that count up to 10 with at the end of each out-breath. Just as a way of anchoring you into the breathing process. So you're noticing the out-breath and then marking it off with a count. And see if you can keep the count going up until 10 and then just starting back at 1. And there's no need to brace, we can just be at ease as we become absorbed in the breath, in the body. And as you become established in the rhythm of the breathing, start to allow the breath to comb through the body. Feel the breath moving through the body. And you can start to feel the tensions or any tensions that you're holding in the body. You don't need to think about those tensions. The tension is just there as part of this breathing process. And as we're breathing and noticing the tensions in the body, any tension in the body, you can just start to get a little bit more familiar with the weave of that tension. Just see what happens if we bring our attention and the breath to bear on the tension in the body. Think of it as breathing with the tension or breathing into the tension. And noticing the effect that that's having. So we're feeling the breath in the body. We're counting if that's helpful, just to keep us connected to the breath. And we're noticing what happens if we bring our attention to any tension we find in the body, in the shoulders, maybe, or in the tummy, maybe in the face. Now in this second stage, we just mark the in-breath, just counting just before the in-breath. Don't need to brace, change anything, just noticing the moment that you're breathing in. Marking that with a count, if that's useful. So now we might be catching more of the breath. Just noticing if your body has braced or tensioned as part of that changeover in the stages. So if we can keep bringing this intention of ease into that awareness. We're not just noticing the tension, we're noticing what happens as it releases as well. We're staying with the breath, moving in the body. And the tensions that we find may not just dissolve on their own. We need to be patient. So the counting has served this purpose. We can just drop that and just follow the breath now, just tuning into the breath in the body, however we find it. Calming the nervous system down, soothing the system. Sensations of the breath of the vehicle, feeling the whole breath cycle. Calming ourselves down with the breath. Now just getting this sense that whatever is happening in our experience, we can allow that to be there. Welcoming all the rich, changing sensations in the body. Any feeling that's there, any thought that's there. The spaciousness of the mind, just allow whatever's happening in the body to happen. Welcoming, allowing, opening up the space for whatever's happening. Whether you're experiencing that as pleasurable, unpleasurable, just letting that be there. Just bringing our whole body into our awareness and then just resting attention where the breath is entering and exiting the body. Staying at ease. Noticing there's more subtle sensations of the breath where it enters and exits the body. And then either just softening and easing tension in the body, or just allowing this process to happen and unfold. Whatever's working for you. Now just letting go any focus on the breath or anything else. So in an open space, sounds, feelings, sensations, whatever's going on. This being human is a guest house, every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, Still, treat each guest honourably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them all at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from the beyond. And we're back into physical contact with the ground and this sense of being with community, meditating together. Okay, good. So let's just see if anybody else has tuned in. Hi Steph and Ollie, good to have you with us. So yeah, this is the time of the night where we open things up for questions. It's often funny time because, you know, Daisy May still got her eyes closed over there, and it's just funny kind of limbo, kind of intermediate space, isn't it, coming out of meditation. But it is nice to explore what's happened and not leave it as a kind of dream. It's worth kind of bringing forth what, you know, aspects of what we've been doing. So yeah, I've got a couple of questions. I mean, we could be thinking about how this Dukkha, and do we recognise that? Is that something present? Do we know? Have we felt that before? Do we know that? Is that something kind of familiar to us? Could be a question around what we do with that. What do we do with that Dukkha? What do we do habitually with it? Or something that happened in the meditation? So yeah, so it could be you guys at home. It's you. Or it could be any of you guys there. Any thoughts? Go on, Pam.
I was just thinking about kind of off the cushion and how you approach dissatisfaction. Because I think sometimes we just get stuck into behaviours like you were saying, you know, I don't like this, I don't like that. Are there any kind of techniques that you can think of that might help, you know, when you notice you're just getting sucked into a situation like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say something, maybe you've got something as well, Tasha. I mean, I think there's lots you can do. I mean, just to reiterate the question, I don't know if, because everyone else has got masks apart from me and Tasha, so you might not have heard it quite, but Pam was just basically saying, what do you do off the cushion when you notice, what were you saying, Pam, when you feel yourself getting sucked into situations and with strong kind of, a strong bracing or strong dislike of what's happening, like, yeah. Well, I think the first thing is just to notice that it's happening. Gosh, I mean, that's already a good starting point, isn't it? It's like you kind of you can notice that in your body, how you're bracing in the situation, and you can notice those habitual thought patterns that come up about this particular person. They're always like that, so that can be interesting. You can start to equate that with the tension, and you start to see how one is feeding the other. Often it's the repetitive thought processes that are kind of like pushing your body to tense, and then that's kind of giving the fuel in a way to more outrage, you know. So just bringing awareness to that whole situation, you know. And then there's other things you could do then in that situation to actively work with that. What would you say, Tasha? What about actually working with things in that moment?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, bringing mindfulness to it, but I've also found it really helpful just to start kind of thinking about my conditions and noticing my conditions, because when we're like, you know, in pain or, you know, not feeling very good, like there's all sorts of things that will make us we're always in a mood, aren't we? And there are all sorts of things that will make us much more likely to be not liking things. So I kind of think, well, what is it? And see if I can kind of notice that. Yeah, one thing that I've also noticed with myself is that I can then get into sort of mentally telling myself off and pushing it away even more, you know. And then that's a kind of a spiral of harshness. So yeah, I had a really good retreat recently where I was kind of dropping much more into my feelings and able to a bit more do what Rumi's saying in the guest house, you know, try and welcome everything in and bring kindness to it rather than sort of pushing it away and saying, no, you don't want that. But it's yeah, it's a process, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's really good. So what you're highlighting there is kind of metta, or this Pali word metta, this love and kindness, you were bringing it into the meditation earlier as well. So there is a way you can kind of be watching your thoughts and things with a kind of slightly cold, analytical view. But of course that's not helpful, because often that just creates a bit more harshness even. Maybe it's just reflected back on yourself, as you were saying, Natasha. So somehow warming up the situation, warming your heart up, warming up the situation, realising, you know, that what's needed here is probably love. And if you can't muster up love, then at least some sort of tenderness or some sort of warmth in the situation, you know. So that can kind of help. And then of course just breathing, taking a moment to not react. There's a whole kind of area of where we don't like something and we do something very quickly off the back of it, a harsh word or something, a cutting remark, you know, or whatever it is. But in those moments, you know, sometimes when you're noticing, you're in one of those reactions, you know, just taking a few breaths, you know. So in a way, it's like it's the breathing, the mindfulness of breathing, and the metta bhavana. It's these two practices kind of essentialized. How do we access those in the moment? And that's I think that comes out of it comes out of a lot of practice, really, doesn't it? And kind of learning how to work more, kind of more effectively with your experience, you know, over time, you know, and reflecting as well. Okay, gosh, that didn't work. You know, going back over things later in the day often helps. You know, when there's that jumble of thoughts, you know, and you can kind of go into them and go like, oh, you know. So you know, you can start to kind of, you know, replay things, but again, you need to bring kind of a bit of warmth to that. Otherwise, it's just like it's a bit mea culpa. You know, you can kind of like give yourself a hard time. All right, so that's a couple of thoughts on that. Anything else or anything building on that? Any other ideas? Let's just have a look at home as well.
Yeah,
So
feel free to stick questions in the
yeah,
chat.
no, there are questions here, Tasha. I'm just having to read through. Nervous system and breath interact in the presence of suffering. The breath and the nervous system, how do they work with each other? Not telling yourself off for negative thoughts. That was just picking up on what you said. I mean, I think that is interesting. The nervous system. There's all the science is there basically that kind of when your nervous system is on full alert, you are less likely to be mindful, less likely to be loving. You just sit on the tube. Not at the moment, actually. I was on the tube. It was really nice today. I had to go in for my osteopathy. There's only 3 people in the carriage. But normally speaking, you notice when you're on high alert and in a rush, those are usually stressed in a rush. Those when you normally, when you notice the bracing and tensioning, and the nervous system just in its full kind of like onness. So, how does one settle it down? And the science is there to show that the breathing, definitely, I don't know if you guys felt that, did you feel the breathing kind of settling things down, calming things down?
Definitely, I think I was saying to Tasha as well on Sunday that I was having an overactive nervous system. And on Friday I had to log it out of work because I literally felt like I was shaking inside and out. But I did find breathing into it, accepting it, which is really difficult because I get a sensation in my chest and then I get a tightness in my neck and then I panic because I don't know what's happening to my body. But actually sitting with it and really noticing when it happened, where it came in, and then feeling where it was and thinking of it as a sensation rather than something that was going to take over the whole of my mind and body. And it did start calming down, but definitely breathing and nature actually, going outside and actually seeing trees and things. I love trees. But just to, I think it's the panic that actually gets you. And then you can sort of take the panic away.
That's right.
Which is quite difficult.
Yeah, it is quite difficult in the moment, isn't it? Especially when we're up close. But it's interesting, that, isn't it? That this idea that we're going to get overwhelmed if we actually turn towards our experience, that it's going to kind of overwhelm us somehow. So we want to distract ourselves and push on somehow. That's interesting. But tension in the body, one doesn't need to take it personally. I mean, I think that's really useful, let's kind of just become interested, curious, like the kind of weave of the tension, and what happens when you just bring your interest towards it? Does it start to settle? Does it start to dissolve? Is there a release sometimes of energy? Just check if there's anything else coming. Okay. So I think we better draw it to a close with a question. So just to hand over to you for the last part of the evening, Tasha.
Sure, thanks so much, Renara. So thanks so much to everyone who's joined us today. There's a few things to say as we close. So there is a discussion on Zoom, which is at 8:45, so that's in about 10 minutes. So if you'd like to join that, there's a link in the description below. And basically, just really encourage you to come and join that. It's a chance to connect with other people. Buddhists are very friendly. I found it a bit intimidating when I first got involved with things, but people will be very friendly. And think of it a little bit like, if you were coming to a meditation class, we'd have a tea break and we just have a bit of a chat and a biscuit. So there won't be tea and biscuits unless you grab yourself one in between. But it's just a good way of connecting with people and thinking about this in relation to your own experience. And I think there's a suggestion about those questions that Mike Trinara brought up then, to discuss them in the Zoom conversation. So how do you recognise dukkha, unsatisfactoriness coming up in your life? What are the habitual ways in which you cover it over? And how could you feel it in the meditation? So that's the sort of thing that you might discuss. And if you've enjoyed tonight, a really good way of being more connected to the evening and what we're doing is to make a donation. So we're all giving our time for free here, and you can kind of be part of that, be part of the community if you are able to give a little. I know it's a difficult year, not everyone can, but if you can, we kind of suggest £5 for a sort of concessionary rate, or £10 if you're waged and you can afford it. We'd really appreciate it if you can donate, because it makes all of this possible. And again, there's a link in the YouTube description for that donate button. And if you join these classes regularly, if you come along a lot, you might want to think about setting up a regular direct debit so that you don't have to think about doing it every time. It's just something that you could consider. And yeah, that's it. This will be happening again next week, like this, next Monday evening. On Wednesday evening, there's not a sort of discussion session, but there will be a talk starting at the same time, and it's the Noble Eightfold Path. I think it's on livelihood. I'm not sure who's giving that talk.
It's not a live stream. But
No, it's not a live stream, but it will be a talk up there on the Noble Eightfold Path and livelihood, so what we do for a living and how that relates. So that should be good.
Right, all right. Well, thanks, Tasha, and thanks, guys, for coming and helping out, set up, and thanks, Jack, and thanks everyone at home for coming and just creating the energy between us to support one another, to meditate. The point of exploring Dukkha and all these things in our lives is to become more available to one another, to become more available to one another. Yeah. So you're doing it for yourself and you're doing it for other people as well. So really, really great that we come together and work and help each other like that. So yeah, for now anyway, join the Zoom if you can. But otherwise, yeah, a very good night.